I call to order the November 2017 meeting of the Media Borough Council. Please rise and join me in the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Please remain standing. As we did last month, so we do this month. Since the tragedy in Nevada, we have since suffered 2 more tragedies involving gun violence, both in Sutherland Springs, Texas, as well as Tehama County in California. I wish that we did not have these moments of silence before our meetings for these reasons, but I think it's appropriate that we do observe a moment of silence in view of those events. So please join me in a moment of silence. Thank you. This is the week before Thanksgiving week, and we have much as a nation to be thankful for. We have many bounties as a nation and as a people. But as we think of those things for which we ought to be thankful, let's also think about those things that can be perfected in our union. Perhaps one of the things that you might want to think about is the scourge of gun violence in our country that has affected far, far too many. All right, let's begin with some housekeeping matters. We have 3 sets of meeting minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the special meeting minutes from October 5th, 2017 as submitted?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the special meeting minutes as submitted, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. We also have workshop meeting minutes from that same day. Do I hear a motion to approve those as submitted?
So moved.
Second.
And I do hear a second. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the workshop meeting minutes for October, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. And finally, we had our October 2017 council meeting, for which we have minutes that have been submitted to us. Do I hear a motion to approve those minutes?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is. Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving October 19, 2017 council meeting minutes, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. We have public comment and privilege of the floor. Before I call to the microphone and those who are eagerly awaiting this event, let me extend my congratulations to all of those who stood for election a couple of weeks ago and those who were elected by their community. And we have several among us, Mr. Mayor, Amy Johnson, Sarah Dixon, and to my right, we have Lisa Johnson and we have Kevin Boyer, all of whom were elected by the good folks at media, and congratulations to you all. So now we have public comment and privilege of the floor. I know of at least 2 persons who wish to approach the microphone. Please come forward, tell us who you are, where you live, and what you're about tonight.
Hi, I'm Monica Simpson. I live in 5th and Orange Street.
Monica, I don't think the microphone's working yet, so give us a second.
Thank you very much.
Much better, thank you.
Good evening, I'm Monica Simpson from 5th and Orange Street. It's nice to be back in the hallowed chambers of Media Borough Council. I'm here tonight representing the Media 5-mile race, and we're early from last year, late from the year before, but I do have some presentations and thanks, so if you'll give me a second. As you know, this was our 38th race this year, and we're going strong. We have had great responses. In fact, as I was waiting for everyone to get here this evening, I was looking at some real estate that was being published, and in the description was a mile from downtown Media with all the stores, the local events, including the Dining Under the Stars, the Media 5-mile run, etc., which I was really happy to see that. But tonight I'm here again on behalf of the Board of Directors, and as a local nonprofit, please accept these contributions. I have a check for $2,500 to the Borough Capital Improvement Fund, And I also have a $500 check to the Media Recreation Fund. We're thankful for the support of all of you in Borough Council, our public safety, and our highway departments. But most importantly, we're thankful to all of the wonderful enthusiasm, the volunteerism, and support of our residents and business communities who make this worthwhile. And it makes the Media 5-mile race a must-run event. As you know, we're sold out. We're capped at 1,800. We have our sponsors who have their passes for runners as well. And it's truly, we're stopped all the time. This is the best event that the community feels is full community, neighborhood to neighborhood. So thank you very much. And who would like to check?
I think it's appropriate that the chairperson of our Finance Committee receive one check and that the liaison to the Recreation Committee take the other check.
Thank you. Thank you very, very much. We really do appreciate it. Thank you. Thanks for everything you all do.
And Monica, we look forward to the 39th run this year.
Yes, 39. And happy Thanksgiving, everyone.
Thank you. All right, looks as if the checks are in good hands. Is there anyone else who wishes to approach council at this time? Mr. Arata, I think that you might have a few things to say about a topic that is near and dear to your heart and is important to this borough because 10 years ago we voted to become America's first fair trade town. And one of the persons that was behind those efforts is sitting immediately to your left, Monica Simpson. Sorry, Monica, I'm going to call you out on that one. Drew, tell us who you are and where you live. Speak loudly.
Hi. Hi. Can you hear me?
We can hear you now.
Great. My name is Drew Arata. I reside at 311 South Olive Street and also at 23 West State Street at my shop, Earth and State. And since 2006, when Media became the first fair trade town in the Americas, I've been on the committee and committed to helping to educate and promote fair trade all around town. And this year, we did not get a chance to do our Fair Trade Awards in a public setting, so we're using this as an opportunity to use this as a public format to announce the historical award for our fair trade town. In years past, we've awarded historical figures that unknowingly contributed to the fair trade movement. Past recipients include Marquis de Lafayette and Benjamin Franklin, Edna Ruth Byler, who founded 10,000 Villages. And last year we honored Bayard Rustin, a Westchester native that was very important in the Quaker movement, but particularly in the civil rights movement, which contributed quite a bit to allowing the fair trade movement to be born. And this year we'd like to honor someone in our global south from Bolivia, Dominica Chungara. Forgive my Spanish, it's not very good. And as I do every year is I task everyone with researching and finding out more about these historical figures. And this is the kind of education that we like to put out there as part of the fair trade movement. So we'll announce the rest of our fair trade recipients later in the month. And for now, I need to change hats. And Dominica Chungara. And I will post, there's some accent marks that I don't know if I've done right. So I apologize. I don't have the Spanish capability to speak, but I will make sure that that goes out so everybody can see about her contribution. She organized miners and the poorest of poor people in Bolivia in the 70s. She was part of the International Women's Movement at that time, and she really brought women empowerment and leadership to the forefront. And as Brian was saying earlier, we have a lot to be thankful for here. In Bolivia in 1975, she had a lot to speak out against, and we're very glad we live here as opposed to Bolivia in 1975. And she helped empower a lot of the workers in that area, particularly the miners. I encourage you to find out more about her. And one second.
Are you changing hats?
I'm changing hats. So, thank you. In addition to being a fair trade volunteer, I volunteer quite a bit in the business community as a business member. And this weekend is Jazz Fest here in town, so we encourage everybody to come out and see some great jazz throughout town. Tickets are available at bars and restaurants. You'll get to hear lots more about that in Lisa Johnson's report. The weekend after that happens to be a big weekend in town. It's the kickoff to the holiday celebration in media. There'll be the lighting of the town on Friday. So Black Friday, there's music and there's the town lighting ceremony. Saturday is Small Business Saturday. We encourage everybody to come out and shop at many local stores. The Small Business Saturday is followed by Sunday, which is the Santa Parade in town. So come out, get there early. There's information out there about that. And in addition, beginning tomorrow, I believe, is a townwide cross-promotion beginning with, based around the Media Theater's Beauty and the Beast production entitled Be Our Guest. So Be Our Guest campaign begins by going to one of our retail stores that is participating, making a purchase of any level, and at that time you can request a coupon that is only valid with a media retailer's receipt. You bring it to the theater, you get 10% off, and that opens up a whole new zone of wonderful discounts at the restaurants. So, everybody go see Beauty and the Beast, and please shop here in town. And shop local. Thanks.
Thank you, Drew. If there are any Spanish speakers who wish to coach Drew on his Spanish, please come visit him at Earth and State this weekend, the following weekend.
Maybe after the New Year.
Maybe after the New Year.
Yeah,
All right.
I'll pay in time dollars.
Shop local, buy local. All right, is there anybody else who wishes to address council at this time? Seeing as there are no other takers, we'll move to the report segment of our meeting. We have first the engineer's report. Mr. Mattson.
Thank you, Mr. President. November, relatively quiet. A couple of things that are noteworthy, I think. We did submit a grant for the TA set-aside application for some stormwater improvements to the BVRPC PennDOT process. I'm very happy to report that they went to meet to go over the scope of the application, the size of it, and to help to facilitate it. So I think it was well received. I think that's very good news. They would like to meet. We're trying to put together a time to meet this afternoon. There were some scheduling conflicts, so I'll be providing another update hopefully at the next workshop meeting. So I think very good news in the application.
Good, thank you.
That's all I have to report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Mattson? Hearing none, we'll move on to the solicitor's report. We have Carl Ewald, who is sitting in for our usual solicitor, Bob Scott. Welcome, Mr. Ewald. You've been here before. You know your way around, and I think you know the magic words that are often given by Mr. Scott.
Yeah, Mr. Scott did not send an additional report.
All right. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Ewald at this time? Hearing none, we'll move on to the mayor for his report.
Thank you. Let's see, the police department had a total of 771 complaints during the month of October. The log is attached. There was one reported burglary during the month on October 19th. Residents of an apartment complex located in the 400 block of West Jefferson Street stated that over a 2-week period they had painters and other maintenance people in and out of their apartment. On the 19th, discovered that a large water bottle containing coins was stolen, so the investigation continues. The department's been conducting traffic and enforcement details throughout the borough and is issuing a significant number of motor vehicle violations. She says, let the driver beware, and do not hesitate to call 911. We got a nice note concerning a police officer on the 14th of November. It says, Media Police Department just wanted to send a note of thanks to all. We had people working late over the week, and we're very concerned, and an alert officer seeing our back door open stopped in to make sure everything was okay. We surely appreciate that, all you do for our community, especially the care that is always extended to the Baker printing in particular. And I'm sure we don't say it enough, Cindy Baker. Chief and I today had a pleasant day. We were at Media Elementary for the annual second grade career showcase, and we get to sit with the children. I think there must have been about 20 exhibitors, of which I was one, trying to convince them that I actually do something.
Is that hard?
Yeah, it was. So we went back and forth. I quizzed them also. I don't have this written down, but off the top of my head, let's see, the two things that most of the kids in the second grade like about their favorite restaurant is Bittersweet, and their favorite place to go, and I'm not going to say it right, the Escape the Room, which I thought was interesting for second graders. But it was a great back and forth that we had. I mean, you'd have 4 to 6 sitting with you, and you exchange names, and what do I do? Lie. And what did they? I don't know. But no, I told them what I do, and then asked them what their aspirations were in second grade. And they gave a great opening in the auditorium before we all went down to the cafeteria, where they sang songs, and they went one by one, everyone saying who they were and what costume they were representing, what career they were representing, whether it was a pianist, a soldier, a police officer, a dancer, whatever. So it was really, really exciting.
Nurse?
Was I nervous?
I said nurse.
Oh, nurse. Oh, yes, there were a couple nurses. Yes, there were a couple nurses, doctors. Nobody up there was a patient, though. So. Drew mentioned the Be Our Guest. The theater sold out tomorrow night. They have 451 seats. Every one of them is sold. So it'll be a nice to see how the restaurants do. I talked to Iron Hill today, talked to Spazzo's, talked to a few others, and it's going to be an early crowd, which is good on a Friday night because in media, the crowds are usually much later. But since the show starts at 7, Iron Hill said we'll be packed from 5 to 7 before everybody goes down there. So if anybody else wants to stop, I'm only going to, I'll be at the theater from, I guess, 6:15 to 7 o'clock greeting people. If anybody wants to come down and be part of it, welcome to come down. Can't stay for the show because there's no place for you to sit. They're also pretty close to being sold out on Sunday also. So this ought to bring a lot of traffic to State Street on Sunday and, of course, Friday night. Saturday, I don't know what the situation is. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Does anyone have any questions for the mayor? I do have a question for you, Mr. Mayor. In connection with the police report, that you mentioned that there were 771 complaints this past month, October. And I know you talked about this before. A complaint is not the same thing as a crime.
He writes complaint. And let's say, if they're escorting someone, a bank, escorting, taking money from whatever, that's considered, and it's, and I don't know why you use the word complaints. I just read it.
I understand.
So, yeah, but it's activities. All activities that are recorded.
Someone might think that hearing just that number, that's an awful lot of activity, but looking through the complaint log, the large majority of the things that are listed as complaints are such things as requests for information, such things as assist to the public, parking complaints, motor vehicle warnings, etc. So I think that at the end of the year, you'll give something of a summary of the crime that has occurred in media.
The crime, yes.
The crime. So
I'm usually more specific at the end of the year on the burglaries and other incidents that we have. that are growing.
I think that when you look through these numbers, you realize that media is an extraordinarily safe town. As in those small part due to a very effective police force. So, folks, if you hear that number, don't get all that worried that there's that much crime going on in media. Actually, there's not. There are a lot of folks asking for information in media, is what it boils down to oftentimes.
I will rephrase it next.
Okay. All right, unless there are any other questions or comments for the mayor, we'll move on to the council committee reports. All righty, we'll move along then to Councilman Boyer, Recreation and Board of Health.
Thank you, Mr. President. Rec met Monday the 6th. They met Monday this month because of Election Day, so a little bit different than the usual schedule. Some of the upcoming things, one of the members, Wendy Allen, is trying to gauge interest in a walking club. Now that we have this, I believe it's called Walkways Trail outlined throughout the borough, she's trying to come up with a contingent of people who are interested in using that consistently as a means of recreation. So she's put some notices out on social media, and we'll see what happens if she gets any interest in that. This Saturday is the annual senior luncheon from 12 to 3 at Spasso's, Eric Stein Trio, featuring the Moonlighters. And I looked at Lisa's list, I don't see them on there. I saw Midnighters, I don't think it's the same thing. But,
It was last Saturday.
oh, it was last Saturday.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah, because the minutes. Never mind. So it's hard to say.
It was a good time.
I'm sure it was a great success. I'm sure everybody had a great time. But yeah, you're right. I'm looking at the notes from the meeting, and the meeting was last week, so I'm sure it was fine. Sarah, did you attend?
Yes, I did. It was wonderful.
And
I
Eric,
took 15 of my closest neighbors with me.
Wonderful. And Eric's group was, they did a great job.
Yes, they did, really.
Great. Right. Well, it's always a great event, and we're thankful to Rec that they do that, so I'm sorry for the mistake. Upcoming, Winter Wonderland, that is definitely November the 26th. That has not happened yet. Sunday the 26th from 1 to 3 is part of the weekend with Small Business Saturday and Black Friday and so on. So that will be at the community center. There'll be gifts for all the kids that show up, and Santa will be there handing out the gifts. There are still some tickets available, at least as of last week, for the Sixers on January the 5th. At that evening, I believe the team they're playing is the Pistons, if I remember correctly. Tickets are $30, and we may or may not have a bus there. I request that we try to get a small bus for the people that have tickets, so we'll see how that works out, so stay tuned for that. Then finally, regretfully, Art Brown is resigning from the Rec Commission, and I want to personally thank Art for his many years of service. I was trying to think how many. I know at least 10. It might be more than that, but Art has been a great help to Rec, but he's kind of moving onward and upward. He's moving to Cancun for most of the year, which is not such a bad thing. But anyway, Art is resigning from Rec, and I make a motion that we accept Art's resignation.
Second.
Motion is made and has been seconded. Any comment or discussion? All right, I'll call the question. All those who are in favor of accepting Art Brown's resignation from the Recreation Board, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes. So anyone out there who wishes to participate in the local government in the capacity of the Recreation Board, we have an unexpired term. December 31st, 2019, so 2 more years. And if you're fortunate, you get to go to Cancun afterwards. So it's not a bad gig.
Or at least sling hot dogs at Easter and Halloween, so there's that.
Pretty much the same thing. But if you're interested, submit a letter of interest to our manager, Mr. Smith.
And you do have to be a Borough resident to serve on Rec, from what I understand. And that concludes my report.
All right, any questions for Councilman Boyer? Hearing none, we'll move on to Councilwoman Lisa Johnson, who's got Historic Archives, the MBA, and Historic.
Thank you. I don't have archives.
Oh, that's right, you got the Historic Architecture Review Board. I apologize.
Right, HARB, as we like to call it, did not meet this month, so I have nothing to report there. And Media's Historical Society has not yet met. They'll meet next week, so stay tuned. But NBA, Media Business Authority, has lots and lots and lots going on. Drew Arata from Earth and State mentioned earlier the things that are going on, and he told me I should repeat, just to make sure you all get it. So here's the first thing. This Saturday, Paul, hold it for me. Jazz by Night, it's a great event. 22 venues, indoor stages, And it's Saturday from 6 p.m. to 1 a.m. And advance tickets are on sale at all these venues. You'll see the posters all over town. And also at MediaJazzByNight.com or phone number 610-566-5039. So if you want to hear some great jazz, this Saturday will be, Media will be the place to be. There's also a supplement from the Mainline Today magazine. You can also see this information on the web at mainlinetoday.com. And it's all about media, even though we're not quite on the main line, we're an extension. So great information there. And as Drew had told you that this weekend, next weekend, Black Friday, we're going to have the Festival of Lights and a holiday stroll. Lots of things going on. You know, the retail stores will be open, special sales and promotions, popcorn, cider, cookies, and hot chocolate, a strolling postman collecting cards for Santa Claus. Live music will be in front of the Armory on Friday from 4 to 6 and Saturday from 1 to 3 on the Plum Street Mall. Some strolling musicians and carolers on State Street. So at 5 p.m. on Friday, the town and tree lights will be lit. So you need to be downtown at 5. November 24th, 25th, and December 6th from 6 to 9 p.m. There are carriage rides, you know, horse-drawn carriages going up and down State and Orange Street. So be sure to get a ride on the horse-drawn carriage. There's also Santa's Village at the Franklin Federal Credit Union various times throughout the season. And on Sunday, there's the Santa Fun Run and Parade presented by Kenny's Flowers. And of course, on New Year's Eve, mark your calendars, the ball will drop and live music will be played by Philly Gumbo at 11 p.m. So that's that information. And the last thing I wanted to tell you about was this award that, oh my goodness, which is very heavy plaque. Yeah, I don't want to break it. From the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, they gave the Economic Development Award to the Media Business Authority for this year, which the Media Business Authority is very proud of, and I hope the Borough of Media and the residents are proud as well. The county of Delaware, the council, can't see, the council of Delaware County created a resolution, as you can see here, stating that they wanted to recognize the Media Business Authority for this award. So it's a resolution from the Delaware County Council.
A lot fancier than ours.
Yeah, it's very nice. And not only at the county level, but also at the state level, the MBA was recognized. There's a certificate of recognition, and this is to let it be known the Media Business Authority is honored with the Economic Development Award by the Delaware County Chamber of Commerce, and therefore the Senate of Pennsylvania extends sincere congratulations upon its richly deserved recognition. So that's from the Senate, PA Senate, and the PA House. Also has a citation here recognizing the MBA for the same award. So very richly deserved, and thankfully lots of people from all over our state have recognized our little MBA as one of the winners. That's all I have for tonight.
Well, thank you. And Mr. Khan, I see you're sitting on the audience, and well, might you have had anything at all to do with all of this wonderful recognition? You can come to the microphone and overcome your innate bashfulness.
Thank you very much, and I'm very proud of the fact that we did get recognized by the state and the county. And it's not just one person, I think it's a teamwork. And we have a great council who supported us over the year. We are very fortunate for that, and I'm very thankful for all of your support and the businesses that are in town. So it's not one person, it's a whole team. And I also wanted to thank the Mayor, Bob McMahon, for his efforts to improve the downtown and constantly look for grants and money, and where we are today, a lot of that credit really goes to the Mayor. So thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm heartened to know that our state legislature has been doing something for the past several months. They were able to manage to pass a couple of resolutions, so good for them. Work on the budget. All right. Any questions for Councilwoman Lisa Johnson?
I have one.
Yes.
For the Jazz Festival.
Yes.
The last few years, as I've attended, the Media Theater has hosted or has been the place for a concert. Is there a concert Saturday night at Media Theater?
No, the Jazz Festival is at the 23 different locations.
Yes, I know.
But not the theater, because they have the Christmas shows and stuff like that going on. So the only show that we have at the Media Theater is the Blues Stroll in June. And the rest of the two events are just at the restaurants. And then also, I just wanted to thank you for reminding me, but all the council persons have a free pass, VIP pass, to go and enjoy the jazz. You can stop by at our booth in front of Brick and Brew and pick up your pass and enjoy the evening on us.
Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. Unless there are any further questions, move along to Properties, Public Works, and Fire. Councilman Robinson.
Good evening. As I do every month, I encourage our residents and neighbors to consider volunteering to work with or serve with the Media Fire Company and the EMS units. I do not have a report this month with regards to the fire company's activity, but I've gotten to know the chief well enough that what he is going to say is we are entering the holiday season, and so everyone should think of safety. Don't overload those extension cords. Don't have those candles too close to things that can burn. Make sure you have your smoke detectors all charged up and things of that. So just think before you load up, like I used to do, 50 or 60 electric candles on the one extension cord. It's not a good idea. With regards to the agenda, relatively light. My first on the agenda is a resolution. This is really amending the adoption of our 537 sewage special study. As we alluded, the state is asking us to adopt this once again because there's been a change of language that is required. So this is really more like a housekeeping issue. So I'll make a motion that we adopt a resolution 2017-39, amending the resolution for the adoption of our 537 sewage facility special study.
Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
Any discussion on the motion? There is no call for discussion. All those who favor approval of Resolution 2017-39 with regard to an amended resolution for a sewage facility special study, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Second on the agenda is Resolution 2017-40. Under Borough Code, we are required to adopt a resolution when we are getting rid of old junk. And this is basically what this is. We went out to bid for a old generator that we are no longer using. And the bid came in at a surprisingly decent dollar amount of $4,100. So with that, I'll make a motion that we adopt Resolution 2017-40 for the disposition of property of the genset generator.
Is there a second on that?
Second.
There it is. Any discussion on it? By junk, Councilman Robinson meant a tenderly used, still functioning, valuable piece of equipment.
Exactly.
That's what I thought. All right.
$4,100 worth.
It's good. All right, all those in favor of adopting Resolution 2017-40 with regard to disposition of the genset generator, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And last on my agenda is another resolution of disposition of, not junk, of a 2005 Ford Explorer. It was a used police vehicle, so you can determine what it was. But again, we did very, very well, surprisingly well. And the bid came in at $1,225. So I'll make a motion that we accept this in the form of this resolution of adopting Resolution 2017-41.
Is there a second?
Second.
There is. Any discussion? Here.
I have one little question.
Yes.
The Ford Explorers, the ones that are being,
This one's about 15 years older than the ones that are being looked at now.
okay.
It served the borough very well for many years in the capacity of a marked police car, then was changed over to an unmarked police car, and then was used for parades and certain things of that nature. Then he slowly just had to sit in a parking lot for a while, and now is going out to bid. And somebody else will take it, fix it, love it, and go on for another 100,000 miles.
All right, all those in favor of approving Resolution 2017-41 with regard to disposing of the 2004 Ford Explorer for $1,225, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
And last and it's not on my agenda is, has been mentioned several times tonight, we're coming up with the holiday festivals of the weekend of the 25th or 24th, 5th, and 6th. On the 26th is the holiday parade that has taken off and has been doing very well. This group is not a 501c3. It's basically a group of people putting this parade together. And they did submit a request for a donation from the borough of $2,000, at which time they had the understanding that they were going to receive that. However, finance does have a policy that would limit that donation to $1,000. The one good thing about democracy and council is we have the ability to override that policy. The parade is this weekend. I think it'll be next weekend. Thank you, the 26th. Will be a great event, and I would ask that this council override this policy from the $1,000 donation to a $2,000 donation for the 2017 holiday parade. That is in the form of a motion.
Well, actually, I think that that's more appropriate to come under Mr. Williamson's portion of the agenda. But if you wish to have the motion now, then we can entertain it now.
It doesn't bother me where it comes on the agenda, as long as it comes up.
You made the motion, so you have to
The
second.
motion's been made. Is there a second on the motion?
Second.
There is a second on the motion. Is there any discussion on the motion?
I'd like to just offer a little perspective on why we have a policy. There's a lot of very high-functioning and quality nonprofits in our community that we support because we believe strongly it's a way to invigorate our community. But we want those nonprofits to be responsible and to be responsible for the money that we give them. So we ask for some what we think are modest requirements before we'll go above the $1,000 amount for a donation. So just putting it in perspective, the parade committee is a new group. I don't know exactly what order the paperwork is in, but nevertheless they seem to be doing quality work and they're growing nicely. So the finance committee chose to follow the policy. And that's it. That's all I want to say.
I'll add that as a member of the Finance Committee, we did talk about this, and we talked about this at a fair amount of length. The issue of the policy was, I think, at the center of our discussion when we adopted a policy a couple of years ago, as outlined by Councilman Williamson. with the idea that if there was a request above $1,000, that there be some type of supporting documentation so that we have a better understanding of what the organization was, what they're going to do with the money. Many organizations, including very small organizations, such as the Fair Trade, have provided us with that information. And that really kind of was the stumbling block for the Finance Committee. We did not have that type of documentation, which is contrary to our policy, a policy that we beefed up a couple of years ago in response to requests from some members of council. So I think that the Finance Committee did the right thing. We applied our policy, but Councilman Robinson is correct. The majority of council may choose to decide to override the policy. So that's really what we're here to talk about tonight. So unless there's anybody else who wishes to address council at this time, I will vote consistently with my opinion given on the Finance Committee. I think that it's a fine event and it's growing. I'll be looking forward to seeing the parade again this year, but I think the policy is there for a reason. All right, so call the question. All those in favor of increasing the borough's donation to the Holiday Parade Committee from $1,000 to $2,000, please say aye.
Yes.
And those opposed, please say nay.
No.
Nay. So the ayes have it. It's a 5-2 vote.
Thank you. That concludes my report.
I do have one question for you, Paul. As to the parade, it's unclear to me whether or not there are going to be food trucks this year. Do you know if there are going to be food trucks
I
this
do
year?
not know. I can be more than happy to ask for you. I know that there was discussion last year that if in fact there was something like that, that it would be located outside of where normal restaurants would be.
Yeah, the mass gathering says they'll be relocated, but it doesn't say to where.
That's correct. But it doesn't say that, actually the mass gathering permit does not say anything about food trucks. So,
I bet.
I can be happy to find out and get back.
and last year there were a number of businesses on State Street that complained about having food trucks on State Street because I thought reasonably, it was a reasonable concern that the food trucks pulled business away from them. And one of the objects of the parade is to bring economic activity to our businesses on State Street. So if you could please ask and find out if there are going to be food trucks, we should know where those food trucks are going to be located.
I'll be glad to look into that.
Thank you.
And I don't disagree. I don't like that idea, in the same way as with our food festival. I hope that we start to get out of having food truck type vendors coming to the food festival and vendors and try to incorporate more of our restaurants into it. But yes, I totally agree with you that I would talk to the parade people. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Councilman Robinson? Hearing none, we'll move on to my portion of the agenda. I have one action item. It is with regard to an economic development strategy plan that we hired a consultant, e-consult, with a generous donation that we received to update our business strategy plan. And they've been working on this for nearly a half year. They've involved many members of the community. They've held several meetings, all of which have been very well attended. They made an excellent presentation at our last workshop meeting. And just going back to one of the public meetings, there are several members of council there, and I think they'll all agree that it was highly unusual that at the end of the presentation, there was spontaneous applause. There was a genuine, heartfelt appreciation for the amount of work, the amount of thought that went into this strategy report. It's a report that I think it's fair to say from our discussion at last workshop was well received by council. We're excited by this plan, and we're looking forward to implementing this plan as best we can in the upcoming year. Tonight, but before we do that, we need to adopt it. So that's what the vote is tonight. So tonight, I move that we adopt the final draft of the Economic Development Strategy Report that has been prepared for the borough by e-consult.
And I will second that motion with the Motion being made and seconded. Is there any discussion with regards to the motion?
Just to echo that, I think it's really an excellently put together report. And it's a great roadmap for us. It's just up to us now to follow it.
I too agree with Peter. It's a great planning tool, but we are responsible for executing it. So there's going to be a lot of work down the road, cost some money to do the execution of what we hope to plan, and I think it's all good. And I also want to mention at the NBA board meeting the other night, the NBA board is very excited to participate and created a subcommittee within their board to work on this, and hopefully in a partnership with the borough, to work on the plans and the execution of the plans of the e-consult's report. I'm excited about that.
And just to add on how we are all excited, Borough Council is committed to spending a Saturday retreat in which we are not going to have anything else on the agenda other than this to give us time to discuss, plan, and organize. Because as we've all said, this is a fantastic document. Now we have the responsibility to turn that document into reality, and I think that we'll be able to do that. I think it'll make some significant changes to the way we think and the way in which the borough will be moving forward. So I think it's fantastic. So with that, all those in favor of adopting the strategy or the economic development strategy report from e-consult, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Ayes have it.
Now that we have hopefully whetted your appetite to read the report, it will be available, the final draft will be available on the Borough website. Is it too aggressive to say tomorrow morning? Okay, so tomorrow morning. If you have no better way to spend your Friday morning, that's a great way to spend it. Okay, so a couple of other items. First is a reminder that at the next CDC, the Community Development Committee meeting, a week from this coming Tuesday, so November 28th, we'll be having the third of a series of meetings about development along Baltimore Avenue. So that'll be 7 p.m. in this room. So I'll repeat that, November 28th, Tuesday, 7 p.m. in this room. We'll have a meeting concerning development along Baltimore Avenue. We've already met twice. There's been quite a healthy turnout of residents, good exchange of ideas. We have asked that residents come to this third meeting and to tell us what they would like to see on Baltimore Avenue. There is going to be development on Baltimore Avenue, so our task is how to manage that development. We'd like to know what you would like to see. So please come out if you're at all interested. And then last item is really more of a question, and I'm going to turn to the borough manager. A week from this coming, a week from tonight and a week from this Friday, we have Thanksgiving and Black Friday. Some folks have their trash picked up on those days. So how are we managing it this year so that folks know when to put out their trash?
We push to the following week. There won't be any collection on Friday.
Okay. So if your trash collection is on Friday, you will not have trash collection on the Black Friday. So you'll have to wait until the next scheduled trash collection for that pickup, and keep that in mind. I have nothing further.
But just to explain, because I think people might, so Eastern would it be normally have their trash picked up on Thanksgiving?
Correct. Yes.
So they will not get their trash picked up until the following Monday. Residents on the western side of town normally would have their trash picked up on Friday, and they will have to wait until the following Tuesday.
Correct.
So,
Now, does that also go for recycling? Because Thursday's also the recycling day.
It's a good question.
Yes.
Does that get pushed to Friday, or did they skip that week?
My recollection last year is that they were here.
on Friday.
They were here on Thanksgiving or the day after.
Yeah.
I remember trying to chase them down.
We'll post it, but I think Friday, they do work on that.
That's what I remember, and I kind of missed that, but I vaguely remember them doing that last year.
So the recycling would be on Friday.
I want to make sure I didn't miss that.
So recycling is good, just as it normally is. If you live west of Jackson, You will not have trash pickup the day after Thanksgiving. If you live east of Jackson, you will have your normal pickup on Thanksgiving Day. So I have it? No, I have it wrong. Oh, yeah.
Nothing goes on Thanksgiving Thursday.
Right.
Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
Recycling happens on Friday.
Right.
That's it.
Yes.
Got it. Okay. Now let's confuse everyone. I think that's, I'm going to end this right there. I'm going to get out where we're going is good.
And wait, just wanted to, on the 28th, the other two meetings where we were talking about Borough Avenue, we did have a consultant. This time, CDC is going to go on our own without the consultant. But again, this is just an opportunity to get feedback from the residents so that we have some sort of a starting point on which we will be doing it. Brian, you're absolutely right with, there will be development on Borough Avenue. And I think the important thing, which we haven't done as much, is I think next week we may want to start the meeting off with explaining to the residents what currently is permitted there so they have a greater understanding. So, and then we can move on from there. It's been great. The meetings have been very fruitful. So, any other questions for the president? With that, gavel back to you.
All right, we'll move along to Finance, Library, and Public Safety. Mr. Williamson, you've got the laboring oar this evening.
I'll try to make it brief, Mr. President. First, a library announcement. I noted that between the last meeting and this one, the library had its fall book sale. Did very well. I hope you all attended. I don't remember the exact take, but I believe it was just a little shy of $30,000, somewhere in the $27,000 to $28,000 range, which is excellent. And it's a tribute to the organization of the volunteers that spent all year putting these things together. It's a remarkably well-run book sale. Another item related to Councilman Johnson and Amy Johnson and my responsibilities toward the new park on 5th Street. We had our first committee meeting, a steering committee that is of neighborhood and media-wide volunteers. Excellent group. We met last Monday night on the 6th to get to know each other and to start to talk about the scope of what we'd like to see at the park. And we'll be following up with a series of meetings through the winter. We hope to have a strong idea sometime in the spring. Next, payment of bills for October from the general fund, a large number because we paid some of our pension accounts this month. $1,153,675.95. From the Recreation Fund, $4,171.95. From Liquid Fuels Fund, $6,214.64. And from the Capital Fund, $1,666. I move approval of the bills for October.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor of approving payment of the borough's bills for the month of October 2017, as outlined by Councilman Williamson, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Okay, next I'm going to turn to the preliminary 2018 budget. This month, every year, we pass a preliminary budget, which is like a preliminary approval from this council, about 98% of the way there. It's not too late to change things, but much of the committee work, which started in September, actually in late summer, has been done, and we have put a package together that we're comfortable with, that may bear some tweaking before we pass the final budget in next month. Okay, before I turn to that though, let me mention something about what's going on this year, because it is related. For the 17 budget, as of about a week ago, we had met the entirety of our revenue projections for the year. So in about 10 months' time, we took in what we expected to take in 12 months. The expenses, however, on the other side of the budget, are on budget. So we should end up with a healthy surplus by the end of the year, which we can add to the $6 million in cash reserves we have otherwise accumulated over the years of careful management. So that's the context for next year's budget. I might also add that the borough is really committed to doing long-range planning on a number of topics. We adopted an economic development plan tonight. Previously this year, I think it was this year, we passed a stormwater management master plan. We have a comprehensive plan among a number, we have a wayfaring signage plan. We have a number of really good plans that the purpose of which was to organize our implementation thereof. So it's, you'll see some of that in next year's budget. All told, it's an $8.8 million budget. That's a slight increase from last year, about $400,000. On the revenue side, most of that increase comes from two line items. A $250,000 increase in our expected tax revenues, and about a $50,000, oh, I'm sorry, this is in the other direction, decrease in building permits. So about a $200,000 increase net from those revenue sources, and that will cover the increases in the expense side. Almost all the expenses, or the principal amount of increase in expenses for next year, comes from contractual or other salary increases, because staff is the single biggest item in the borough's budget. But there's another number of other items included. The library gets about $30,000 more dollars. About all the other nonprofit groups in town get about $20,000 more dollars. We noted we passed an economic development plan. You also heard Paul say we're going to get together and prioritize our first tasks. But we have to pass a budget before we know exactly what that is. So we have set aside $100,000 in the budget toward economic development activities that we might wish to do. We also wish to investigate our ability to compost from most of the borough residents, to take residential trash that can be composted and have a service where we'll take it from your curb. But in order to test that out, we have a pilot study that any of you that pay attention to these meetings would have heard Councilwoman Johnson talk about this one again earlier because of the pilot work that she did. So that's in the budget as well. Those are the main items in the operating budget. Jeffrey, do we pass them individually or do we pass them all at once?
It's council's pleasure.
Let's do them all at once if you don't mind. Next is the capital budget. For this year, it's again based on plans that we've done. We have something called a capital improvements plan where we try to look 3 to 5 years ahead about what kind of big ticket items we'll need to buy. We also get reports from all the departments of the borough and the commissions and committees on what their spending priorities are. We also have to put in items that we thought we would get to this year but didn't get to. The biggest examples in the capital budget this year are a sally port, which actually means just a sort of fancy garage for the police so they can better move perpetrators or people that they've arrested into the jail and also protect their cars from the weather. We thought we'd get to that this year, but we didn't. And also the Veterans Square Garden between State and Baker Street. Thank you, south side of State Street, which we thought we might get to this year, but didn't. Other big items in the capital budget are sidewalks, almost $900,000 worth of sidewalks. These are mostly covered by a grant that we already have in hand, but we do have some money that we need to put out for that, and that's based on a plan that we did for sidewalk improvements borough-wide. The wayfaring signage plan gets its first slug of implementation money. The yard where all our trucks are kept lacks for enough sufficient coverage for those trucks, so we're going to buy a pole barn so that we can have those trucks last longer by keeping them out of the weather. We're beginning to implement the stormwater master plan by implementing some of its highest priority projects. And there's a number of green elements in the capital budget as well as there are every year. Shade tree plantings and new plantings in 2 of our parks. The repair of many of the solar panels that we installed a number of years ago that aren't functioning properly. And planning for 5th Street Park, which I mentioned earlier, and a general park plan so we know which other additional properties throughout the borough we might want to acquire. and further implementation of our LED street lighting program. I'm sorry, not street lighting program. I think this is for the borough buildings, in fact, not street lights. Excuse me. So of that 2.9 million, currently about 1.8 million is coming in this preliminary budget from our capital reserves, the $6 million I mentioned before, which would represent, should we have spent every penny in the budget, about 30% of our savings. However, I want to assure you that that's not the way the borough manages its money. We look at every capital item in relationship to how we're doing and spend accordingly. But we like to put a healthy amount of capital improvement items in the budget every year because it gives us the flexibility to pick and choose among them on what we might want to do during the course of the year. So that's really all I wanted to say about the other two budgets are the recreation and liquid fuels funds. Liquid fuels we just simply put into our paving program. That's money that comes from the state and goes right back out into asphalt on our streets. And the recreation fund goes to the Recreation Commission where they use it to finance the kinds of programs that Councilman Boyer has tells you about every month. And those are relatively flat, both of them. So I move approval of all four preliminary 2018 budgets, the general, capital, liquid fuels, and recreation fund budgets.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Is there any discussion on the motion?
A couple questions. When you were first talking about the operating budget, like you said that it was going up about 400,000. Yeah. But we're only generating revenue at 200. So are we getting the other 200 from cap reserve?
No. Jeffrey, could you help me out? Did I read the numbers wrong?
Just a little bit, just slightly.
Yeah.
You're on the mark though, so it's actually closer to, it's under 300,000 total. And essentially the revenue that's making up the difference has to do with the earned income tax. The projections that the borough has received from the tax collection agency, we're still kind of conservative in that amount, but clearly that's the difference that's making up for the increase in this year's operating fund. All four funds are around about 12.8 million total is what we're looking at, and as Peter had highlighted, general funds under 300,000, and the vast majority of that revenue is coming from the additional earned income tax that we anticipate receiving in 2018.
Is that being anticipated from increase in occupancy or population?
I think it's because we've underestimated the amount of earned income tax we earn every year. And it's the delta between what we estimate and what we actually receive has been growing. So we figured we might as well recognize that fact in this year's budget.
Okay.
Yeah, the tax collection agency always, gives us figures with a caveat that this is a projection. No one has kind of a crystal ball. So the finance committee historically has been very conservative in those projections, and I think remains that way even in 2018.
Are there any other questions or comments? I'll only stress that this is a preliminary budget. The final budget, we adopt the final budget next month. All right, so I'll call the question. All those who favor adoption of the preliminary budgets of the borough, that's general capital, liquid fuels, and recreation funds, please, as outlined by Councilor Williamson, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes.
Thank you. The next two items are relatively minor compared to that. The first is to ratify the submission of the Green Light Go grant application. We discussed this at workshop. It had to go in prior to this meeting, so we're just ratifying our approval of this. This will help us improve the reliability of street lighting along Baltimore Avenue, where if we have a major power outage now, we lose some of the lights. This will improve them by putting more battery backup power into them, so that won't happen, and also improve our ability of them to register cars coming to the corners. Make that in form of a motion.
Second.
Is there any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all those in favor of ratifying the submission of the Green Light Go grant application as discussed by Councilman Williamson, please say aye.
Yes.
Aye. Those opposed, please say nay. The motion passes.
Now, everybody knows that they can't get a reservation for a hotel room in New York City for New Year's Eve. that they can come here and watch the ball drop as it has for many years now, but only if the borough gives a mass gathering permit approval first. So I make a motion that we approve the Mizia Business Authority's New Year's Eve community celebration and ball drop on Saturday, December 31st of 2017 from 10 p.m. until 1:30 p.m.
Second.
It should be AM, right? January. It's
1:30 p.m. on January 1st.
AM.
AM, I think it is.
Oh, yeah, it
It's
should
just
be
written
AM.
wrong.
Look at that.
It's one heck of a
Retract
party.
my promotion. No, I don't. Just, I stand corrected. Thank you, Mr. President.
New Orleans on the Ridley. Okay.
I second.
Okay, then discussion. Hearing none, all those in favor of approving the mass gathering permit for the New Year's celebration, New Year's Eve celebration, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, please say nay. Motion passes, the party is on.
Oh, I'm sorry. That concludes my report.
Okay. All right, any questions for Councilman Williamson? Hearing none, we'll move on to Councilwoman Amy Johnson, Fair Trade Shade Tree EAC Farmers Market.
Thank you. EAC would like to remind everybody that this weekend is the electronics recycling and shredding event. So that is Saturday, November 18th, 9 a.m. to 1 in Acme's parking lot, which is on Baltimore Pike. Just a reminder of what you can bring. Pretty much recycle almost anything with a plug for free. Old style TVs and monitors do require a $30 deposit disposal fee. And then they'll be shredding documents and no CDs or DVDs. So several of our EAC committee members will be working and volunteering throughout the day at that event. So stop by for this great opportunity to recycle. Regarding composting, like Councilman Williamson was referring to, I want to thank all those who took the survey. The survey is now closed. We had a wonderful response we're opening up the pilot if this passes in December to 100 residents, and we have well over 100 folks who are interested. So we're really excited, and we're keeping our fingers crossed that we can move forward with that in 2018. With the help of our wonderful grants writer, Carrie Taussig-Lux, we're working with the DEP on a grant for a feasibility study for the pilot. So we're anxious to move forward on next steps with that and see what comes out of that feasibility study so that we can move forward in the new year in an effort to recycle even more of what goes into the incinerator. So what else? And one more thing I would like to mention about the bicycle sharrows that maybe some of you are seeing, markings on our roadways. I personally noticed them on Orange Street, also on Haldeman. Sharrows are markings to kind of remind us that we are a bicycle-friendly town, and also give bicyclists a roadmap of where they might bike on safer roadways, which way to bicycle. But in no way does that mean that you can't bike on other roads that don't have sharrows. Also, just a reminder to all of those who see those markings, in no way does that mean that you can't park where those, in some areas there might be no parking, but just for confusion purposes, we had some residents worried that that meant that we were losing parking where you see those markings, but that is not the case. So keep an eye out. I know when I see them now, when I'm as a motorist through town, it's actually making me more mindful to slow down and keep an eye out for bicyclists, because they are quite big and new, so to keep an eye out for that. And for those of you who, I just wanted to make a mention of this wonderful newsletter, thanks to Karen. It is chock full of wonderful information that you have received. I urge you to read through this. It talks about the bike plan and many other initiatives regarding recycling and events. So if you want to learn more about what's happening in our great town, make sure you read through this over your Thanksgiving break. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Councilwoman Amy Johnson? I do have a question. I don't know if it's for you, Amy, or for Peter, or for the both of you, but I drive past the new little pocket park on Manchester Avenue pretty much every day, and there's been quite a bit of work on it. Can you give us a sense of the timeline on that, when it'll be open to the public?
I actually just walked up to it the other day, and it's roped off, so you can't walk through it, but I walked to the top of the steps to peek in. And it's looking pretty close to being complete, but that's a good question. I'm not quite sure when it will be open. They have seeded a lot of grass, so I'm thinking that's one of the reasons why. There is a concrete pathway, but on either side, grass has been sown, so it might be due to that. We did get a little rain, so maybe sooner than it would have. But I think all of the planting has been done with concrete. Yeah, and there's also a little explanation of that park and Mr. Williamson's beautiful rendering in here as well, if you want to read more about that park. But yeah, maybe it'll be open for Thanksgiving weekend. Do you know, Peter?
That would be great.
I know that there's a real basic reason why it can't be open yet, and that is that the steps up from Manchester need railings, and they haven't been installed yet. Also, there's a series of bollards along the Wawa side of the park that the metal pillars are in place, but the sleeves on top aren't in yet. And I do hope that the grass greens up a little bit. I mean, it's been a little chilly. It's been wet, but it's been a bit chilly. So I just asked the contractor today what he thought about the chances of the grass coming up, because I know it's going to be cold next week. So he promised me he'd go out and take a look at it and do what he could, maybe put some more ryegrass down if needed. So I think before Christmas we should see a park that doesn't have any more orange flagging on it anymore.
Great. We should think about naming it. There ought to be a name for the park. So it's something we can talk about at the next workshop. Okay, so keep that in mind. Maybe around Christmas time would be a good place to stop by and visit and see another bit of improvement in the borough. Let's move on to public relations and historical archives. You got it right this time, Lisa. Councilman Sarah Dixon.
Yes, hi. An awful lot of what I would normally cover was covered by Councilperson Lisa Johnson, but there is a bit that she didn't cover. The Spirit did a whole spread on our parade, including having the mayor's picture. And I know there are some of you who don't get the Spirit, but we pick it up like crazy down in the area where I work. So it's becoming as noticeable as Town Talk, which did a whole thing close to what you're talking about on, I have to put on the glasses, on great places in Pennsylvania. Rebecca Ross of the Delaware County Planning Department presented council with a Great Streets Award from the Pennsylvania chapter of the American Planning Association. So everybody's bragging and saying, we're the, media's the thing we want to emulate, and they're right. But we don't want everybody catching our thunder, so, it's great. Also, when it comes to the archives, with the last meeting with Meet Again, the 30th, the archives are still answering all kinds of inquiries for record, for information, and at the same time planning on putting together some things for to get the public more involved. Adam is doing some, and both of them are doing some interesting things along that line. We have two members, Stephanie and just like that, it just went out of my head, that are up for, their term is over in December, and they both have agreed, that bothers me, both have agreed to continue on. Yes, yes.
Kathy and
Kathy. All I could see was a K. Thank you. So that's all that I have for a report.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Councilwoman Dixon?
Oh, I forgot one thing.
Oh, please.
So the day of the parade, which was unbelievably cold, you were there, you know, it was cold. And at 6 o'clock news, I decided to catch it on Channel 3, CBS. And they did a really wonderful story about several thousand people attending the parade in media. And they showed an awful lot of the vets marching, which is good, and a little bit of the bands. But they did not focus on all the dignitaries, which I thought was really important, and I like the way they did the article. But that's definitely concludes my report.
Thank you. Does anyone have any questions for Councilwoman Dixon? I think that was an oversight. It should not have been an oversight. There was not any mention of the Veterans Day Parade before Councilwoman Dixon talked about it. Credit where credit is due. Mayor, Bob Diamond, Councilman Robinson, all were present. They had a hand in the planning for the parade as well as the execution of the parade. And it's really quite a touching event. There were in excess of 10 bands there, so you have the youth are participating, but you have members of the armed forces that have been around for quite some time, and maybe they won't be around for quite so much longer.
Yes, we will.
There we go. They keep marching. But it is touching, at least for me, to see them out there and to go marching and to stand proudly behind the flag that they protected years and years ago. So next year, if this is not on your calendar, you ought to make it on your calendar because it's one of those events where you really have an emotional tug. It reminds you of the important things in our society. So, but credit where credit is due, Mr. Mayor. Thank you. And Bob Diamond, I know you're out there watching because there's nothing better to do.
The ceiling. You just get it.
You'll see on the computer.
Yes.
There we go. Thank you very much. All right, so we have public comment privilege of the floor. A second time this evening. Does anybody wish to address council at this time? Please come before the microphone and tell us who you are and where you live. No takers tonight, so everyone have a wonderful Thanksgiving. And is there a motion to adjourn? And there's a second?
Second.
We're adjourned.